honestly didn't expect like this many people to turn up today. I must tell you, I'm really, really nervous. I didn't, when I was rehearsing this yesterday, I certainly didn't think that I would be this nervous, but I am a little bit today. But first of all, I just want to say a big, big thank you for coming today to listen to my personal experiences with this condition, Dissociative Identity Disorder. It really does mean so much to me to know that all of you are interested in this condition and want to understand it further. I really hope that I can give you a good clarification of what this disorder is like, what it means to me, what it means to other people, and how people function with it in everyday life. So just to give you a little bit about me, my name is Jessica, and I'm a third-year clinical and health psychology student at Bangor. I was diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder 2 years ago, although I've known about my multiple personalities since I was about 6 years old. So it's been a long, long, long time. There are many people who don't believe this disorder is real, and this is my reason for standing in front of you today, is to spread this awareness and hope that those who are future psychology students will be able to continue in their careers knowing that this condition is very real, and it's wrong to judge what you don't necessarily understand, if that makes sense. So my ultimate goal is to raise awareness of this controversial condition, and I hope to give you guys the right facts and understanding. I really hope you do enjoy the talks. I am a third year student, like I said, so please just bear with me if I slip up a little bit. Refreshments are available and snacks are available here. And we have teas and coffees and lemonade, I think, outside, so you're more than welcome. It's really informal, guys. Just don't worry if you need to go out at any point at all, that's fine. But yes, I will answer all of your questions, but if you could keep them sort of with you and then I will answer them at the end, that would be great, just so we can sort of move it along a little bit. Okay, so now that's over. My overview for today. So first of all, I guess, what is DID? This is very basic of what we'll be covering. I tried to keep it simple and sweet because it is a complex condition. I'll just be going through with you what is dissociation, what is multiple personality disorder, and what it's like to sort of live with this condition. Meet the authors then, you'll get to actually see, you'll get to have some video footage of my personal authors, and I'll tell you a little bit about them, and how they are and how they act. Also the causes of DID, so this goes back to sort of how it starts, how it begins, and how DID is formed. And therapy and treatment, and this is it's quite self-explanatory, I suppose. And I'll be looking at the evidence, which is a little bit more the neurobiological side. And don't worry, I promise not to scare you guys too much. If you're not psychology majors or you're not a neuropsychologist, that's fine. I've really tried to make it as simple as possible for this very complex condition. And finally, there's Q&As right at the end. There'll be a 5-minute break between the evidence and the Q&As. So if you guys want to go out and get some food and a biscuit, we'll have a little bit of a chat afterwards, so I hope that's okay. Okay, so first of all, what is DID? But I can tell you what it's not. It is not schizophrenia. Many people assumed that DID and schizophrenia are either interlinked or they are the same thing, when in fact they are nothing alike. Schizophrenia is a psychotic disorder, and DID is a dissociative disorder, and that is an extremely different perception of what other people have. I think really the mix-up comes from the translation from schizophrenia, which means split mind. But the split mind actually comes from the split between fantasy and reality with the person who is schizophrenic, and doesn't actually mean split personality disorder. Moving on to that, it is not a personality disorder. As much as the old name suggests, multiple personality disorder, my personality as somebody who suffers with this condition is intact. I just have a few more than most people, which is fine. Like Jekyll and Hyde would imply as well, like I said, it is not split personality disorder. Split personality disorder doesn't actually exist. This really is a classic demonstration of the evil, axe-wielding, awful person with multiple personalities who's coming to get you. I promise this really isn't a true likeness of what the condition is actually like. People with this disorder, such as myself, are perfectly functioning or can be perfectly functioning. Of course, with any psychiatric illness, Some people may cope with this disorder very well, and other people not so much. So it ranges completely. But as you can see, I'm stood in front of you, talking to you today, and I don't have an axe in my hands, and I'm not going to chop you all to death, so it's fine. We're good. We're good for now. So like I said, there's always a scale with mental health. Right. Parents, you will be thrilled to know that DID is nothing to do with the imaginary friend syndrome. My alters, my multiple personalities are not imaginary friends, and your child having an imaginary friend doesn't actually give them any more chance of developing this condition than the next child out in the street. So you are absolutely fine. As Hollywood won't tell you, DID is not a fashion statement. This is a lovely picture of Lady Gaga and her brand new alter ego, I think it's Joe something. And I promise you DID isn't when you go out for the night dressed up as and acting like another person for an entire night. This really isn't, in a funny costume. Recently, when I told somebody I had this condition, the first thing that the person said to me was, "No way, just like Britney Spears." That's fine. I'll just go shave my head and join her in. This glamorized view of DID is completely wrong. Like it's like Nicki Minaj's Roman Zolansky, I think his name is, or Beyonce's Sasha Fierce. It seems to be coming in trend right now, and it's quite worrying because I'm quite concerned that people assume that I suddenly go from a blonde sort of bombshell to a sort of greasy-looking Italian bloke, but I'm not quite sure. But this is what Hollywood would have you believe. Oh, finally, this DID, you'll see this a lot in the media, is that you'll read a man is trying to escape his murder sentence by claiming insanity, and he was saying, "Oh, it wasn't me, it was my alternate Bob that did it. It wasn't me that's totally rubbish." And actually, if you look at the reports, it says that the majority of people who try and claim that they have multiple personalities when they commit these crimes or they commit these murders don't actually pass the psychiatric assessment. So this is good news. This is quite good news, but it still doesn't stop people trying. And just finally, it's not a scapegoat, which I like this picture of the goat, so I just put them in. It is not a scapegoat for life's problems. Oh, I did have another slide that's gone. That's fine. It's not a scapegoat for life's problems, as many people will have you believe. So, when you're going to lecture, it's not a case of, where's the old dog ate my homework excuse? Now we're faced, I'm sort of faced with a, well actually I have a dog alternate personality who ate my homework. So I decided to just... No, that's not good. So no, this excuse, this use of scapegoating really isn't anything to do with having DID, and it shouldn't be put that way. It's really, really awful. And people assume that I do that a lot, but I just turn up to lectures late just for the lols. I turn up and be like, "Hey, sorry, one of my alters slept in this morning." "All right," it's an excuse to say that you stayed out and partied. No, he really stayed up this morning. But people still assume that I'm using it as an excuse, and this has got to stop. So this giant wall of text you see here comes from a little book called The Diagnostic Criteria of Mental Health Disorders. It's the DSM. For text revision, it's got a really long name. Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders. Right? But I'm not going to try and shove this giant wall of text down your throat. Instead, I'm going to try and break it down into small pieces so we can get a better understanding of exactly what it's like. So, let's start first with what is dissociation. What is the D in DID? Well, like the cartoon says, have you ever driven down a familiar road only to wake up somewhere different? Or enjoyed a book so much that hours seem to pass by in minutes? This, if you have experienced it, is a type of dissociation. Don't panic, I promise you this is perfectly normal. A dissociation is a disconnection in the mind. So it disconnects you briefly, I think, from a moment of consciousness. It's a helpful and normal ability that all people possess from a young age, and it helps us daydream or keep our heads through stressful situations. It's only when, this is perfectly normal, and it's only when it begins to interfere with your life does the disorder then become a disorder. So the dissociation then becomes a disorder. It's when, you're looking at books and hours are not, it's more than you're losing hours, you're losing days, weeks, months, sometimes even years. This is when dissociation becomes a real disorder. So there are 5 other types of dissociative disorders. We've got dissociative amnesia, dissociative fugue, depersonalization, dissociative disorder not otherwise specified, and the one I'll be focusing on today, which is DID. Okay, so the first one in the DSM states, this is the criterion that you need to match to get an actual diagnosis. It's the presence of 2 or more distinct personalities or personality states. So if I just give you a demonstration. These little lovely cartoons are pictures of alters. So this is what they could look like. They can be as few in a person as just 2 or hundreds. One of my friends with this condition actually has over 100 personalities. Can you imagine what, I can't even, you'll find out later, have 4. And the thought of having 100 people inside is just, it's crazy to me, it's mind-boggling. I mean, can you honestly believe that? These alters live in like a sort of an inside world. They have their own little inside realm. Now this inside realm can be nothing. It could just be a blank space, or it could actually be a lot more complex. It could be a place where, you have, some alternate cells have islands of their own, they may have countries, they may just have a little house, a little tent, and some alters have the whole world inside their head. This is their sort of inner world. It can be anything. It can be anything that the person with the disorder has come up with. This isn't obviously a conscious thought, but these alters live within this inner world. And I'm really sorry if that's complex, but I'm hoping that I've not lost you just yet. So some worlds may have schools, and they may have shopping and jobs, and some systems don't have anything like that. So some people with this disorder who have personalities in their inner worlds, they don't have anything like that. So they may just have a blank space, or may not know that their inside world actually exists. The world an alter lives in is just as diverse as the condition itself. The criteria needs to establish that at least 2 of these personalities come forward, which is what I'm moving on to next. These are generally called triggers. Personalities or alternate personalities can be triggered out. They can actually be triggered out and cause a switch. So this girl here has seen her favourite teddy bear, which causes a switch between personalities. So this can be quick and dramatic, or subtle and hard to see. Personally for me, my alters act like me. They are only comfortable acting as themselves in front of people that they're comfortable with. So, some people say that you can instantly see a child personality come out, or you can see, major differences between people, but actually that's not necessarily the case. Alters can be well hidden, and it just depends basically on the strategy and the functioning of the system and the person in charge. This is how an alter can come forward. They can come forward through a trigger, through something they like, something they dislike, or they can just come out from pure boredom. Why not? Why not? They could just see a box of paints and think, hey, I fancy throwing a box of paints all around the wall. They can do that. It's just whatever they decide. They can come out whenever they want, do whatever they want, and unless there is a routine structure, which is what we'll go into a little bit later on. Okay, so second on the list, at least 2 of these identities routinely take control, which is just what we just covered. Let me see. Yeah, this is a great example. So this is obviously an obvious sort of change. A person who saw me and my alters as one person, don't forget my alters act like me, would probably describe me as a moody and indecisive person. This is because they are viewing me as one person and not viewing me as separate people. So you can see here that in the first box she's like, she's being asked, how are you? And she says, good, how are you? And the next one's like, what's up? And she's like, your mum. And this is, it can be a typical dramatic change in attitude, personality, in expression, in tone, mannerism, anything. So this is the second one. Want some ice cream? No thanks, I don't like ice cream. Is that ice cream? Can I have some, please? Which is great. This is my very overdramatic, enthusiastic self. I'm hoping you guys will get used to that. This is just a typical switch that can happen. Some alters may say that they have an allergy, for example, they may have an allergy to peanuts, but actually another person in the system could actually eat peanuts and not have an allergic reaction. Not that I would tell you to do that, because I don't know 100%, but there have been cases of this happening. So one may not like ice cream, another may love ice cream. One may not like daytime TV, another one may watch daytime TV all day. It completely depends. So this film here is what I'm going to show you. It's a video called Inside, and it's a little short film that was made on YouTube. One thing I think about this film, although it's a little eerie and a little severe, it shows a person with multiple personalities in a psychiatric ward. It actually does paint a very good metaphorical picture of what it's like when alters try and routinely take control of a body, of a person. So I really hope that you guys can see that as well.
On your feet. The doctor wants to see you.
Let's go, I said. No trouble.
Suffering from a condition known as multiple personality disorder.
That's my name. Just let me down.
Without a name, you can't know who you really are.
Guess again. My name doesn't matter.
There are others here as well. Jonathan, Heather, Thomas, Harris, Joey, and Bo. For weeks now we've been talking. You've introduced me to a lot of different people, each with a different name. So my question is, who am I speaking to now?
That doesn't matter. What matters is, how do I get out of this place?
Next week, you're up for evaluation. If it goes well, you'll qualify for a supervised release program and eventually...
I'm so sorry.
I did horrible things.
Deny everything, confess
Why should I do the bad thing?
I'll take your head off.
It's good you want to change. The only way you can get better is if
You work for the government. You're inside my head. You can read my thoughts. I'm being held here against my will.
You're here because the alternate cells inside your head have taken control.
That's hilarious. Wait, are you a real doctor? Give me a break. I know who I am.
Then tell me.
John Jingle Iverson. That's my name too.
Whenever we go out, the people are in trouble. We take
Stop talking.
Never amounts to nothing. Never has, never will. Stitch that fire key.
D. You said D. Does your name start with a D?
That's my name too. Who are you?
Desiree.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Can you scare you?
We need help.
All of you, quiet! I am here to help you. But I can't do that if you won't listen. The only way you're getting out of here is if we work together. Now, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
D is for Daniel. My name is Daniel.
Good to have you back, Daniel.
Thank you, Doctor. It's good to be back.
It's been a long time.
Yes, it has.
Now we can get back to work.
Hello, Daniel. I'm Dr. Blake. As you know, you'll be up for evaluation next week, and if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a few questions. So, how are we feeling today?
I feel fine, Doctor.
So how eerie was that? Did everyone get a little twist at the end? That was quite good, right? And it shows, I thought it shows really well the sort of metaphorical state of alters taking control and maybe the power that they could have over a person. But as you can see, if you're watching from the naked eye, if you couldn't see these people standing behind him, you'd assume that he was one person with a very unstable personality and mood disorder. Despite that being a little eerie, I think it displays it really well. If we're moving on, third we have the inability to recall information. Now, this little blighter is a pain in my backside. It's one of the worst parts about having DID for me. It's the amnesia, the blackouts, the pure dissociation. As like I said in books, you know, the minutes, if you really get into a book, the minutes tend to pass by so quickly. It's actually at a whole new level for me. I could just go to bed at night and then wake up the next day randomly in the street and not know where I was heading, what I was doing, or why I was there. And this is quite a common phenomenon with DID, and it's also quite infuriating, as I'm sure you guys could imagine. So, this is an example. Blackouts can cause a person to lose time, anywhere from seconds to years. An example of this is if you were in a different building from your friend, would you remember what they did? And neither would a personality who is not around at the same time as another. So basically, if another personality comes out, it exacerbates the dissociation, it exacerbates the memory loss and the amnesia that a person may not necessarily have. So if another alter comes out, the other alters and myself may not know what they have done. That's what these slides are saying. The best example I could give you guys is probably a drunk night out. Now, have you ever had that where you've drank so much, you've just woken up the next day and not remembered anything you've done the night before, and all you have are a few clues? You have to check your phone, you have to check your bag, you have to check what your friends have said. This is exactly what it's like every day, sort of piecing things together of what has previously happened. And it can be quite sort of scary for some people that have to go through this. But this has become, I think, so routine for me personally now, I'm just really not affected by it. But I do tend to avoid alcohol or avoid anything that may exacerbate this dissociation because it is quite a difficult thing to deal with, as I'm sure you can imagine. Finally, this dissociative experiences and DID itself is not caused by alcohol or drugs. That's pretty much straightforward. And again, at the bottom, children, is not to do with fantasy play or imaginary friends. You're all good. So if you had an imaginary friend as a child, don't worry, that imaginary friend is not likely to be an alter anytime soon. So, the basics overview. DID is a dissociative disorder, not a psychosis or personality disorder. Alters can live in simple or complex inner worlds and take a form of a fantastical individual. One of the most prevalent effects of DID is memory loss and amnesia. This is often, but not always, related to alters coming forward and taking place at the host. And DID is diverse from person to person. Out of the little DID community that I have, I've never once met another system similar. So each and every system is so different, so vast. There is no wonder why the criteria is so basic for this disorder. So, let's get complex. One of my favorite quotes: if the brain was so simple we can understand it, we would be so simple we couldn't. Mind is blown. We have literally just covered the basics of DID, and I really hope that I haven't lost you guys so far. And I hope that now you're ready to dive into a little more complexity. That's not even a word. You know what I mean. A little more detail with the condition. There we are. A little more detail about the condition. So first of all, the comorbidity. Now, for people who don't know what that means, it basically means conditions that are generally associated with the disorder. So things that come about because of it. It's almost like a symptom. So headaches, now switch headaches they tend to be called amongst the people of the DID community. These headaches are often really hard to control. They can't necessarily be controlled via drugs. And often the best remedy really is just to sleep. It's just to sleep it off. People aren't quite sure why they happen. They have been tested a few times, but the sort of different areas keep coming up under neuroscanning. Depression. Obviously, if your alter was coming out however many times a day, spending all your money, maybe, you know, I don't know, kicking your girlfriend or boyfriend out of the house, you get quite depressed too, as I'm sure you'd understand. And the rest are pretty straightforward. Anxiety, substance abuse, eating disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other disorders. So bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, they're all quite prevalent within this condition. But this is the part that might blow your mind. These conditions may not necessarily be in the host, they may be in the alters. One of my alters, for example, Jake, has bipolar disorder. So I don't have bipolar disorder, but he does. So I literally have a disorder within a disorder. So it's like inception disorder. This is quite cool. Okay, this one. I might be this one. Right, yes, I want to demonstrate how a person, despite all these problems, can function to a normal level. They can function to a good level and in some cases excel and do extremely well. Just like this gentleman, John, which I'll just show you in this clip. Now, John is a police officer and he's received awards and accommodations, and yet he is an avid sufferer of dissociative identity disorder.
John is an expert marksman. He was an Army Ranger and sharpshooter. At target practice, his alter personalities take turns shooting. John's personalities have different styles of firing a gun. Scout shoots from one knee.
What is your function in the system?
My function?
Yeah.
I act as the observer, the scout.
John shares his job as a police officer with several personalities who have different abilities. He switches when different police skills are needed and is always aware of what his other personalities are doing.
When you're out here driving around, who does what?
Yeah, it just sort of depends on the situation. Normally, I'm out quite a bit of the time.
As John began pursuit, he switched to a personality who is good at driving in high-speed chases.
He's weaving pretty fast.
When the stop was made, there was another switch, and John returned to confront the driver of the truck.
Why? You know how fast you're going?
Among his fellow officers, John has a good reputation. Lieutenant Pritchard is his commanding officer.
John knows what's going on when he's out there in any given situation. He's able to make decisions on his feet in tough situations and just think really fast.
This is while we were in St. Louis at the training academy. My rookie dog and me, the rookie handler, we worked patrol together for 4.5 years. Best partner I ever had, much better than any two-footed partner I ever worked with.
John showed us his scrapbook of 13 years as a police officer. He's had many awards and commendations which began early in his career.
In 1982, I was awarded the Outstanding Officer of the Year award by the JCs, which is an award that's offered every year.
Hi.
While he was showing us the scrapbook, John switched to a 10-year-old personality named Johnny.
Hi.
John had trained his dog to stay out of the living room, but when he switched, the dog entered, sensing that his master was no longer present.
Okay, that's John. He's an adult and he's a policeman.
The child personality of Johnny recognizes John in the photograph and sees him as a separate person.
Award awarded as the
Johnny read the article from the scrapbook and, like a 10-year-old, had trouble understanding the words.
Enforcement Officer of 1982 by the Jakeys?
When John switched back, the dog recognized him and left the room as he had been trained.
How amazing is that last part, right? You know, it's really interesting to see that even animals, and it's been suggested that babies can pick up on these really small signs that whoever maybe there isn't there. So as you can see, the dog left and entered the room and his master wasn't there. What I wanted to show you was sort of also the cooperation. Like, you'll notice that John almost had an ability to keep his alters under control. He chose when one came forward to do, I think it was like the high-speed chase, and then he would then choose when to come back and continue with, with his job. This is a thing called co-consciousness or co-fronting, and it's actually something that therapists aim to get a person to. So this co-consciousness, what is it? This is the best description I've ever come across, and it's so accurate. So everybody has, their body is a car, and you guys are driving your car. It's pretty basic, right? Your body, you're driving your own body, this is your car. For somebody with multiple personalities, there are several people in the car, always. How much that personality has access to you can completely range. So they can be in the passenger seat, in the back seats, or in the boot. When two or more people are in the car or helping drive, this is co-consciousness or co-fronting. So it's almost like when an alter is on standby, and they may be able to hear, see things that's going on, but may not necessarily have the ability to do anything about it. So it's basically taking turns to drive the car, and it's learning how to drive this car, learning how to co-front that can make someone function normally. Let's get complex. What am I looking at? Oh, right, yeah. So, personalities, all in all, can have different mannerisms, tones of voice, handwriting, and even physical condition, which is really, really just a bit crazy to some people. But as you'll see in some demonstrations that I have, it's quite obvious that these, have that ability. They may not even be aware of each other. So it would be like, I guess, imagine all of you in rows at the moment. You are in one body of people in your row. You don't know all those people in your row. You might do. If you do, you're lucky. If you don't know all those people in the row, then the likelihood is if you were an alter, you wouldn't have an idea of the other people either. And that's exactly how a system can work. They may or may not know each other. They may have the ability to come out. They may not have the ability to come out. It is completely different from person to person. So we're on to meeting the alters. Now these are some of my personal experiences with this condition. So meeting the alters, this is me. This is Jamie, he's 23, he's right-handed. This is Eddie, 25, and he's left-handed. Jake, who's 21 now, his birthday was yesterday, and he's right-handed. And Oliver, who's 10, who is right-handed. And you can see here with the samples of writing that they're all very uniquely different. It took me about 2 months to get them to cooperate to get these things, but I think they really show a fascinating difference between them. Another thing, like I discussed in the previous slide, was about physical condition. Now, I noticed that I was getting some heart irregularities, and one doctor suggested that actually it could be one of my personalities. So we put it up to the test. This was my normal ECG checkup. That's apparently what it looks like when it's normal. I'm not a medical student, I don't know. But then I was hooked up to a wire for a week, and every time Jake came out, he had to press a button. These were Jake's results. So you can see here, there is a vast difference. I mean, I don't know what these squiggly lines mean, but you can see that there's an atrial fibrillation noted in Jake, so this is a heart arrhythmia noted in Jake. And doctors basically don't know what to do because they can't give me medication because it's Jake with the problem, but it's only when he comes out, which isn't all the time. So, again, this is inception. This is what we're talking about. But this is quite fascinating. Well, to me, anyway. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a blind date rundown. This is Jamie. He's a protector and organizer, right-handed, bisexual with a mixed English accent. He's intelligent. He does need glasses. So if you see me wandering around with glasses, he may not be out, but he may be conscious of watching you guys. He's very paternal. He wants kids more than I do. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's a logical thinker. This is Eddie. He's a persecutor. Now, persecutors tend to do harm to the body or do damage to the body or do things to disrupt that mechanism. So it's quite difficult having him on board. He's gay, he's anorexic, bulimic, he's a smoker. He's the only one of us that smokes, by the way. He's artsy, he's very blunt, and some people might call that honesty, but I'm not sure. He's perceptive and he has a proper strong Cockney accent going on. I can't do Cockney very well, but you guys might be able to. So yeah, that's Ed. Moving on then, we have Jake. He's sort of the emotional side of things. He's straight, he has bipolar disorder, which has been diagnosed. He's not been diagnosed with dyscalculia, but I'm pretty sure that he's got this condition as well. This is where you can't read, you can't do maths very well at all. He's got separation anxiety, insomnia, which we think is linked with his bipolar. He speaks an American accent, Californian I think to be precise. He's quite sensitive and emotional, and he's vegetarian. And he's a rubbish cook. So everything that I cook in big meals, I have to cook lasagnas and to cook spaghetti. Fine. I have to cook lasagna and spaghetti. All of it has to be vegetarian because if Jake comes out for the week, he will starve because all he can do is make a sandwich. So yeah. And Ollie, who's 10 years old, he is intelligent. He has very strong views for a little 10-year-old. He's the only one of us that suffers with nightmares. Now that's quite fascinating. None of us have gotten nightmares in about 6 years. So through all this time, Ollie's been taking these nightmares, and they actually become night terrors over time. He's also the only one of us that's lactose intolerant. So as you can imagine, we have to balance dietary requirements quite we have to plan it ahead quite a bit. And as any kid, he loves his milkshakes and his ice creams. But there's only so much he can have in a day, unfortunately. And he also loves to read. He loves to read his science books. And he loves dinosaurs. I have to put that in there. So this is a little video of us. I've just put a compilation of us together. This is on my YouTube channel, Multiplicity and Me. You are more than welcome to go to it. This is, I'm going to just give you a little rundown of who they are. The first speaker is Jamie. And I'm just sort of drawing your attention really, I think, to the facial features, the difference in accents and mannerisms as I described in the previous post.
For those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie and I'm currently 23 years old. I'm about 5'10", give or take an inch or so. I've got broad shoulders, sort of light olivey skin, green eyes, and I'm extremely attractive because that's just me. But no biggie. Why are you worried? You know. And then he found out a few days later that I was gay, and he was just like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I was just like, "Is it a big problem? Like, I've always been gay." And he was like, "Does your father know?" And I was just like, "Fuck yeah." He always knows. Sometimes I don't know. I think he just knew about when I was a baby. And he sort of like got some hungry and was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be gay." Like, I don't even think I came out to my dad. I just said to him like, we were talking about going into secondary school. I remember this because we were sat on the couch watching EastEnders having a nice coffee. And my dad was just like, "You gotta find a bloke that can handle you, man." I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was just like, "Well, when you bring a bloke home, make sure he can handle you because you're an handful." So, good point then.
Gay.
Okay, I guess just to give a little bit of an introduction to myself. My name is Jake. I'm 20 years old. I don't know. My accent's from California. My parents, I grew up there with my parents for 7 years, and then Jamie's my brother, but he didn't keep the accent. He kept my parents' English accent, and then I kept the Californian accent. So yeah, that's the my voice, I guess. I'm about 5'6", kind of muscular,
I have really, really bright green blue eyes, and I have brown bushy hair, and I don't know how else to describe me.
Oliver.
I don't know. I would be the first boy dinosaur. No. I would be the first boy dinosaur, and then I would be famous.
Okay, so that's just a really brief rundown of what everyone is like. It's still quite hard for me to watch that back. I get a little bit unsteady when I see Oliver because I just think, oh my gosh, is that how people see me? It's really embarrassing to me, but I'm just trying to come to terms with it and think, no, it's not embarrassing. You know, it's the way that it is. My partner's actually sat in the audience, and he takes Ollie out for days, like to the cinema to get ice cream, takes him to the playground. It's so sweet. And you know, this is what I mean. You know, there's such a vast difference between them, and I really hope. I mean, I know they're only tiny clips. I just didn't want to waste too much of your time. But you can check out my channel more. My old channel is Infinite Mind, and it reached 25,000 views, which is quite a lot for a little mental health blog. And the second one is Multiplicity Andy. It's my brand new one, and I think it's on about 5,000 views at the moment. I think thank you to most of you lovely students who may have already seen it, because the views have gone up like that over the past couple of weeks, so I really do appreciate it. But yeah, so moving on. The demonstration. Now this is going to be a bit of fun. I hope I haven't scared you guys too much. Please don't hate me. But what I'm planning to do is ask a few people to maybe come up front. I need one person to be a host, like me, and I need 3 people to be alters. And basically, I just want to give you all an insight to what it's like to live with DID through a normal day. Do I have any takes? Do I have any brave people? Yeah, come on, great. Anyone else? Come on. What's your name, by the way? Luke. Nice to meet you, Luke. Anybody else? Yeah, come on down. That'd be great. Thank you so much. So see the guys. Do we have any girls? Let's mix it up a little bit. Yeah, come on down. And I need one more person. Maybe another girl? Even it out a little bit. Yeah, sure. Come on down. That'll be great. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have Luke. What's your name? Damien? Yeah, Damien. And Pepper. Oh, Pepper and Sam. Lovely to meet you guys. Thank you so much. Right, okay, I'm going to give you these bells. Actually, who is going to be the host? I think it's Luke. Luke, since you were the first person to put your hand up, you're going to be the host. Is that okay?
Okay.
Brilliant. Now these bells just give you an example of what it's like when an alter is co-conscious and then they suddenly have a problem with something you're doing. So every time that you have a problem with whatever Luke says, whatever Luke does, I want you to ring the bells. And then I'll ask you why you have a problem with that and see if we can get around that. So Luke, it's just really simple, don't worry too much. We're just going to give you a normal day. So what time would you usually go to bed?
About 4 or 5 in the morning.
So 4 or 5 in the morning for you, Luke. What time do you go to bed?
Like 10:30.
10:30? How about you guys?
I usually go to bed about sort of 3 or 4.
3 or 4?
It ranges. It can be that late. That's fine with me.
So how would you go about this if you had a problem? How would you organise this?
What if I had an alter?
Yeah, he's your alter. How do you manage this?
Well, it depends how dominant he is. If he's a dominant alter, I'll start going to bed at 10.
You'll be happy to go to bed? Brilliant. Okay, well let's start with your normal breakfast. So what would you have? What's your ideal breakfast?
Porridge start.
Porridge?
Oats, something like that.
What's wrong with porridge?
I'm just not really keen on porridge. I prefer like other cereal.
What would your favourite be?
I think probably I like crunchy nut clusters.
Crunchy nut clusters? Could you handle a few days of crunchy nut clusters?
I could handle crunchy nut.
That's good. Okay, cool. So we've had crunchy nut clusters for cereal. We've not had your favourite breakfast. We're going to move on. What time would you have lunch? Would you have dinner?
Yes.
What would be your ideal dinner?
Not something like chicken base or curry, something like
that. What's your problem with that?
I'm vegetarian.
Brilliant! Just like Jane. This is great. So how would you handle this?
I think before that.
Would you maybe get chicken cut substitute? you? A chicken corn type thing?
I may give a call once a month.
Corn? Can we maybe handle this better? Maybe. As long as you're not alright to eat the chicken.
Sure, okay, yeah.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so what would you do with your day? Or your favourite weekend? What would you do?
My favourite weekends, I'd probably go to the gym a bit. I'd probably go out, clubbing.
What would you have a problem with that?
I'm like a fitness nut. I don't drink, and I can't be doing with staying out late and stuff.
There we are. See, this is another problem. So we'd have to work out something. We'd have to, because you've got to go out, right?
Yes.
So if we were going to go out, let's pretend you did go out to your favourite bar, and you saw this gorgeous girl. I presume that you like girls. Great. And what's your favourite celebrity? Like, if that was your favourite celebrity, sat right there, your gorgeous fit celebrity, who would it be?
I'm going to have to say someone like Scarlett Johansson, something like that.
What about you, ladies? Do you like Scarlett Johansson?
I've never heard of her.
Oh, brilliant! Brilliant. Do you like girls? Do you like women?
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, that's great. That's great. Would you date a woman?
Well, I'm more interested in where the school, where's the university work coming into?
This is just a weekend. We're good. This is just a weekend. Are you a heavy university
I'm not so sure
worker?
about that.
Oh yeah.
You're heavy work? Yeah, heavy at sea, heavy at university, maybe? Work hard, play hard kind of thing? Yeah. So, okay, so we're good with Scarlett Johansson, apparently. This is quite an unusual statement, I must say. I was quite expecting for bells to be ringing and saying, no, I don't like women, I like men. No, we're good. We're fine with Scarlett Johansson, I think. That's quite good. It's quite a good night. So how many drinks would you have?
About 8.
This is not good, guys. And I guess you said you didn't drink, right? How about you? Do you drink?
I do, but I'm a bit of a lightweight, so I wouldn't need that much.
Oh, right. How about you?
Moderation.
Moderation. And what is it you do? Is there anything particular you guys like? Wine?
I like cider.
Cider?
Gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic? How about those? Would you drink those?
I'm from those.
Yeah, we're good. We're very compliant host. This is very good. And so you're stumbling home. You have had a bit to drink. Sorry, guys. You're having a bit to drink. What is your takeout food that you have to eat? Sober up.
Probably either a Chinese or a kebab. If I do, I generally try to avoid it.
You're trying to avoid it if you do, yeah. So obviously this is for your healthy eating, right? Yeah. So this is great. And you're a vegetarian, so you couldn't eat a kebab, could you?
I've never tried a kebab, so I don't really know
Oh,
what
really?
it's like.
It's lamb. It's parts of lamb. I assume. It's parts of lamb and chicken, I think.
And horse.
And horse. There we are. If you get it from Tesco, it's going to be horse. That's brilliant. So, finally, what time did you crawl home to bed on a good night out?
Between 3 and 4.
That's brilliant. Thank you ever so much, my lovely alters and hosts. Thank you very, very much. Thank you ever so much for doing that. It's really brave of you guys. I just wanted to give, that demonstration and really bring it home on what it's like. I can't go a whole day without someone going, I have this problem. I have a problem with what you're doing. I have a problem with Jake. Jake always says, I have a problem with you getting up at 7 a.m. when I'm an insomniac and can't sleep all night. So we've got this problem of either I don't go to my 7 a.m. lecture or I have to stay up all night. So this is the way it works, and it's so hard, as you can imagine, to juggle this. But eventually, if you can, through therapy, through working out a contract, I think should be my next video. No, it isn't. Through working out a contract, that's where you can actually get better. So I'm just going to go to the contract. It's here, and this is from a show called The United States of Tara, and it's quite a famous show in America. And it's a fictional show. I will say it's fictional, but it's a brilliant. I actually think it's quite on the ball of what the condition is actually like. Tara is a mother with DID, and this scene is basically showing her and her alters trying to function, trying to get together and work to build this co-consciousness and this contract so they can actually work as a team.
All of this stops right now. Right now. No more selfishness, no more hijacking, no more excuses, and no more passing the buck. No, shut up. From now on, my life will be organized. My life. My liberty. Dad, it's TV time. I hereby declare my benevolent dictatorship to be in full effect. Long live the king.
Meets me in a field of stone. She says I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. My body's cold, my guts are twisted steel.
I'm crazy.
And I feel like I'm some kind of Frankenstein.
Fucking crazy.
Waiting for a shark to bring me back to life. But I don't wanna spend my time waiting for.
That's quite a hard, almost a hard-hitting contrast, really, of of the things that could go wrong. And it's an unfortunate reality that does happen to a lot of people with the disorder, is that when they think that they're making progress, sometimes things like that can happen and they slip back. So we're just going to be discussing now the causes of DID. This is a great example, I love this. So, a person experiences trauma, like this poor guy here who's dropped his ice cream. This is extremely distressing trauma, as I'm sure you can understand. To deal with these overwhelming feelings, they dissociate. A new personality comes forward, takes care of the job, and when everything's fine again, when everything is smoothed over, the control returns to the original personality, and life goes on until it happens again. And this is the routine of how alters are created. Obviously, you can imagine that the trauma is not just related to dropping an ice cream. It's actually quite severe. Some people experience satanic abuse, cult abuse, sexual abuse, rape, physical abuse, emotional abuse, anything that you can think of. Generally happens at a very young age. They think before the ages of 10 years old, because apparently the personality is more susceptible at this age. So if this happens before the age of 10, and the person has to be prone to PTSD, then there is a chance that dissociative identity disorder could form. So this is a case study of Paula. Now this woman here, she's very, very brave. She has 90 personalities. And very much like you saw in the United States with Tara, she hasn't reached a contract with her alters just yet. So this can be quite, I can definitely show you what it's like living with that.
Day battle from within. Paula Hanlon has 90 different personalities that can literally take over her mind and body in an instant. David Richardson has her story.
This woman is under attack.
Sorry.
Paula is fighting someone inside her who is trying to get out and take control.
You okay?
No.
Sorry? You right?
Paula has dissociative identity disorder, or DID. This attack is being waged by one of 90 personalities inside her.
Paula, need you to come back. Paula. Paula.
It's us.
Oh, God, no. Paula. I didn't know. Sorry, I didn't know that was going to happen.
But it's been happening for years. You had 90 personalities.
We believe that there would have been around 90.
Paula Hanlon looks like a healthy 47-year-old woman, but inside her live a small army of personalities she calls alters. Different people created after a shockingly traumatic childhood she prefers not to discuss.
The alters were created to help Paula survive. The brain is an amazing, organism that it's split to help Paula survive.
She had a central alter who organised everything, named Patricia. There was a 5-year-old child called Cindy and a woman who obsessively cleaned.
Barbara, who was the one who did the cleaning.
There was a nun, even a male figure, a personality who loved to drink, and a woman who smoked and partied.
I had an alter that smoked, and whenever I would then come back, I would be vomiting for about 2 hours afterwards because I do not like cigarette smoke.
Did you find strange clothes in the wardrobe?
I've got things in my wardrobe that I've never worn and that I don't even know how to wear them.
Do you know which entity was buying all this?
No.
But the whole time Paula was taken over by one of her alters, she wouldn't have a clue. Where did Paula go?
Escapism. I think that's a bit, Paula would go inside, almost like going to sleep.
Realising something was terribly wrong, Paula sought psychiatric help. It took 7 years and countless hospital stays for doctors to work out what was really going on, that she was dissociating from herself, just like the character in the United States of Tara.
All of this stops right now. Right now. No more selfishness, no more hijacking, no more excuses, and no more passing the buck.
The hit show starring Australian Toni Collette is a virtual mirror image of Paula's own fight for sanity.
So I just want to explain where I'm at right now while I'm still listed. See, I'm under a lot of pressure lately.
It still happens.
Oh God, scared the hell out of me.
It still happens.
During our filming, Paula vanishes in a second to be replaced by Cindy. It takes her close friend to drag Paula back. It's terrifying to witness, even more terrifying to experience.
The ability to dissociate's always with me. It's a survival mechanism.
It's something that's actually a useful way of surviving what otherwise would be an abusive and rejecting environment that might push someone into suicide or psychosis.
Clinical Professor of Psychiatry Dr. Warwick Middleton has spent 16 years investigating DID, and there's more people like Paula in Australia than you could possibly think.
Something in the order of 1.1% of the general population suffer from dissociative identity disorder, and another significant percentage would suffer something that's a variant of the condition.
So if our population's 22 million, is what you're talking, 200,000?
Yeah.
I feel like I missed out on a lot of things, a lot of experiences, a lot of life, and there's, I'll grieve for those losses. The battle fighting within.
That's just wanted to show you because I realise I'm running out of time. I'm very sorry, guys. Okay, here we are. We've just seen Paula and her 90 personalities. We're going on to therapy and treatment, and this is obviously the controversial condition. It says, please be reasonable. You have 16 distinct personalities, I'm only billing 3 of them. And this is a common thing in America. Some people believe that American therapists in particular create this disorder. They create an iatrogenic disorder so they can get money basically from the potential DID people. But I'm really hoping, obviously, in places like the UK, that's not going to happen. So therapy and treatment is very, very basic for DID. There's only 2 types. There's therapy, normal therapy requires talk and self-help, and the co-consciousness that I was talking about, that can be reached through journals and things like that, writing each other notes. You see my room, it's covered in sticky notes, writing each other notes and just letting each other know, what they want or what's going on. There's no medication for DID. There is no such thing as a dissociative medication. So the only thing that can be treated, the comorbid disorders, which I talked to you about earlier, which are like things like anxiety, depression, maybe an eating disorder, or whatever that may be. But if you run into a problem, like I said earlier about Jake with bipolar, it's a lot more difficult to treat. The second course of therapy is integration. Now, integration is the merging of personalities. So it's not necessarily getting rid of all the personalities, but it's condensing a large amount, say 100 personalities, into maybe 30. But as you can see, sometimes that's not always the best option, because if you're cramming 30 people into one person and making that person whole, they could completely change. And so it's quite a controversial sort of therapy or way of therapy in the DID community. But again, it's all about their own choice. And integration should never, ever, ever be forced on a patient. It says, a popular form of therapy for DID. According to this theory, personalities are created to hold traumatic memories, which we discussed with the ice cream dropping. When these memories are freed, the personalities lose their purpose and go back to being one whole person. At the moment, having four boys, yes, weird, but having 4 personalities, I think if I lost any of them, I would lose this crucial balance, and then something would go. I think not one of them would go, but all of them would go. And for me personally, I'm as far as I am with my therapy. I've never had my own personal therapy, but with how I manage, I'm happy with the way we are right now. That was United States of Tyranny. Okay, so the last thing though we want to see is, the last thing a psychiatrist wants to hear when treating someone with multiple personality disorder. Gee doc, I feel like a brand new person. Wouldn't that be great? It'd be like me, myself and Irene, right? Okay, so evidence, and this is promised you guys is the last one. I must show you this one. This is basically a blind woman who can see when one of her alters comes out. And obviously I realise we're on press for time, so I will try and skip to the crucial parts.
Deeper. Now, how are they related? Personalities and the different names came about to handle traumatic life events that I otherwise would not have been able to handle or deal with.
Margot, the predominant personality of this interview, was actually born Diana 36 years ago. But Margot has taken over as the core personality. She has been diagnosed as having 68 personalities, all with different names, ages and abilities. Throughout this interview, you will see her change from a sweet 16-year-old Margot to Jackie, a tough 21-year-old, to Corey, a 4-year-old who can neither read nor write. And as you will see, not all of these people are blind. For the most part, we will be speaking with Margot. Her vision is 2400. The state of California classifies that as legally blind. Where a person with perfect vision can see something 400 feet away, she must be 20 feet away to see that same image. In simple terms, she can't see her own face in the mirror. It was as a blind girl that she sought treatment at Stanford University outside San Francisco. There she would meet with acclaimed psychotherapist David Spiegel.
First of all, there's no question that there was real damage to her vision. That as you can see, that her eyes do not move conjugately. They don't track together. She has this resting nystagmus of her eyes where they move rapidly back and forth. And that's something that a normal person just can't do. They can't sustain this back and forth eye movement for very long at all. So we know that she had some kind of injury when she was in her mother's uterus or during birth that left her with a rather severe visual handicap.
We watched as Dr. Spiegel gave Margot an eye exam.
Me, for example, what can you make out of me?
Well, my guess would be that there's a person sitting there because of the shape, but other than your speaking, I wouldn't know whether you were male or female. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Margot tested legally blind, but then she changed into the 4-year-old Corey.
Someone else needs to call Corey out.
Good. Well, why don't we do that now?
Okay.
All right. Corey, I'd like to speak with you if I could, please.
Corey.
Corey? Hi, Corey. Do you remember me, Corey? Yeah? Do you know who I am?
Where you be?
Where you be?
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Spiegel, and you're in my office now at Stanford Medical Center.
As we see next, little Corey has good vision.
Could you look at me and describe what you see?
You be the big man.
A big man?
You not have hair.
That's right. That's right. What else do you
You
mean?
have eyes to be the color of you. Sorry?
What color is that?
Be the color of the sky.
The color of the sky? That's right. Okay, can I talk to Margot again, please? How are you?
Okay, I got it in my foot.
Your foot falls through?
Oh, I think she must have been sitting on it.
Oh.
So yeah, that just gives you Jamie needs glasses, for example. Jamie's the only one of us that needs glasses, but this is a far, far more severe case of a person who was born blind and can see when one of their alters comes forward. So the biological evidence suggests that basically DID is the core in the amygdala and hippocampus of the brain. These parts are responsible for memories and emotional responses. The amygdala in particular is when you have a fight or flight response. And if you can't fight or you can't flight, they believe that basically the amygdala sort of shuts down, and that's also in a way how PTSD is formed. So DID and PTSD in brain scans are very interlinked. Just before I go on to this is my own brain. I actually did a study here at the university. It was a completely irrelevant study, but I decided to try, and I hope I'm right, because again, I'm only a year 3 psychology student, but I'm pretty sure my evidence is okay. But you can see the big red mass at the top on this side. It's where, in a normal brain, is where the amygdala lies. On the next one, you can see on the slide over, that's my brain, and the big red splat isn't there. And instead, rather than being a circle shape, it's more of maybe a snake's head sort of shape. And you can see when we match this with the PTSD brain, it's the same. And they believe that under an MRI scan, the PTSD brain and the DID brain are very, very similar. This could be due to that traumatic response that could happen in the hippocampus and the amygdala. How do you guys feel about watching one more video? Are we good? Okay, we're good. Okay, again, you guys can feel free to leave whenever you like. There's no pressure, I promise. Okay, so we're just going to go quickly to an MRI video, and this is the last one of the evening.
A group called the Elders, which I guess makes the
patients with the rare disorder. It came on as a result of traumatic childhood experiences.
When she was a child, because of the horrible abuse that she was suffering, there was no escape except by doing some sort of escape into another part of her own mind, letting another personality come out and take the punishment that her mother might be doling out to her. As she's gotten older, that pattern has stayed around.
When under stress, Louise says she can still lose hours or even entire days as her other personalities take over to protect her from difficult situations.
Despite the experience of patients like Louise, the condition remains controversial. Some feel that the other personalities have been invented by the patient or even by the psychiatrist. This skepticism is partly due to a number of high-profile cases which have cast doubt on the very existence of the condition.
This one I killed. One of the most famous occurred 20 years ago when the murderer, Ken Bianchi, used multiple personality as a defense, claiming his alter ego, Steve, carried out the killings. Eventually, he was proved to be faking it.
Hi.
Hi. With Dr. Condi's help, Louise has recently developed an unusual skill. Unlike most multiple personality patients, she can apparently make a switch on demand.
All right, well, what I'll do is just count from 1 to 5. Right.
Dr. Condi says he isn't using hypnosis, simply a technique to help Louise focus.
4, 5.
Oh, bonjour, médecin, comment ça va?
This is Elsie, a French-speaking character.
Bon, I'm good. Oui. I've been watching.
Later, she becomes a child called Watcher.
I've been watching.
You saw some scary stuff, huh?
This ability to switch at will makes Louise an ideal subject for research.
Yeah.
In the last few years, MRI scanners like this have given scientists unprecedented access to the brain, allowing them to see brain activity actually taking place. The question is, can it shed some light on the mystery of multiple personality disorder? It's something a colleague of Dr. Condi's, Goshen Sai, has wanted to try for some time.
There are two problems to do this study. Number one, in the past, we don't have a machine like fMRI who can do the study quickly and correctly. Number two, we don't have the right subject.
which can kind of control their switching, because we need to have them to switch on the scanner.
Hi, Louise. My name is Susan. I'm going to be doing your scan.
The doctors show us how they scan Louise's brain. Because she can bring on her switching, they'll ask her to change character while the machine is on. She won't be able to move or speak during the test, so she's asked to activate a warning beeper to indicate when she's switched.
Okay? I want you to practice with that. Squeeze that ball.
Louise is first asked to switch to one of her childlike personalities.
Okay, now I want you to switch to Watcher now. Imagine that you're an 8-year-old girl named Watcher. You like to watch what happens with Louise.
The switch happens, and then they do a control experiment. Louise is asked not to switch, but to pretend to be an imaginary child.
I want you to imagine you're an 8-year-old girl named Player. You like to play with a neighbor girl named Helen.
The results of the original test on Louise appear to show something remarkable. These coloured areas represent a big decrease in brain activity at the very moment Louise switches personality. Intriguingly, it happens in the hippocampus, an area responsible for long-term memory. But there's no change during the control experiment.
So you can see here, that's a brain structure called hippocampus. That's the area where activity got changed, as highlighted by color here, when she switched personality.
So what do you make of these results?
To me, that is saying that there's a brain basis for her personality switching.
For Louise, the results are great news.
I was ecstatic over the results because there was finally proof, a way to prove for all those people out there who don't know what to do.
And as it's such a controversial condition, we have with us Dr. Raj Prasad and Dr. Tonmoy Sharma. Dr. Prasad, you are convinced that the condition exists.
Well, like most British psychiatrists, before this new study came along, I was pretty sceptical about whether multiple personality disorder really existed. And that was partly because here in Britain we make the diagnosis much less frequently than they do in America. And in Britain we often believe that maybe these people are pretending to have other personalities as a way of getting attention. But the important thing about this new study and why it's very persuasive is that while this lady was in the brain scanner, they asked her to pretend to be another personality. And the brain activity changed and was different to when she actually was behaving as if she had another one of her alternative personalities. And this...
Yeah, it's just, again, a very basic run-through of just an MRI study that was done. And to finish off, I'm just going to show you very, very brief experiments that were done. Now this is just a collection of what I found on Google Scholar that had been done with DID. And all the areas that I'm going to highlight to you are the differences that they've noted. So in this first one, Savoy, Frederick, and Walt in 2012, they noted that there was a difference in the primary sensory motory cortex, which they put down to the classical sort of slight facial changes and body changes when an alter switches forward. The second one, the nucleus, I can never say it, accumbens, that word, they think it's associated with the reward when it's first switching. There's almost like a reward signal that's sent when a person switches. And I can understand that because for a person with DID, when you switch, it's almost like a relief. You feel like and it can be quite hard to get out of this addictive habit of switching whenever you're bored, whenever you're unhappy, whenever you're sad, angry, whatever. So I think it's almost like a euphoric experience. The prefrontal cortex, they believe, is because of the executive control of it's going to be finished. So obviously when a person is switching, they think that the executive control, the boss of the brain, if you want to call it that, makes these changes. The dorsolateral and ventral prefrontal cortex and parietal cortex. That was a study by Elzinga. The fusiform gyrus, I understand that it's not quite right the way where it is, but that's the best I could do on this view of the brain. And they think that it's to do with mnemonic ability. So that people with DID may not have a great memory span, but they can learn mnemonics better. So when you come up for like an anagram for a certain word, actually, I didn't realise this until I found this study. That's exactly what I do for exams. I write loads and loads and loads of anagrams, and then I remember all of them. And then those are enough to sort of help me remember what I'm supposed to write in exams. And then finally, the superior and middle, well, the middle temporal gyrate, and the occipital lobe and everything else. It was recorded in this study that there was a noticeable difference in the blood flow in the front of the brain compared to the blood flow at the back of the brain. And there's apparently a reduction of activity in the cerebellum when there is a switch happening. So when an alter comes forward, there is a reduction of activity within this cerebellum, which is almost like your sort of autopilot. So let's put them together, and this is what we get. So really, do researchers know exactly what they're looking for? If you put all these pieces together, we can really see that DID affects, it is almost like another person living inside you entirely. Almost the whole brain changes, and these are the only ones that I pulled up on Google Scholar in a night. So you can see that the entire brain in different areas is affected by these personalities, by these switches. So what have we discovered? DID is a coping mechanism formed from dissociation. It is linked to comorbidity with PTSD, anxiety, depression, etc. DID may actually be scientifically measurable. It is a complex and controversial condition, and no therapist anywhere has the right to say that this condition does not exist. And trust me, I have seen many psychiatrists, psychologists, some very well self-esteemed, who told me that my condition was wrong and I hadn't got what I have. And because they didn't believe in the disorder, or they don't see the disorder the way that it is. And then I try and put myself in their shoes and think, if I didn't have this condition, would I believe it myself? And to be honest with you, I'm not sure I would. But my advice to you, my hopes for you guys, is that if you are going to be future psychologists, psychiatrists, please don't turn a person away with this disorder. Just because you may not understand it doesn't mean it's not real, it's real to them. So thank you ever so much. The good thing about having multiple personalities is that you never get lonely. There will be a break now, and then I will, just for 5 minutes, and then I will answer any Q&As for all those who stick around. Thank you ever so much for listening today, and it means so much to spread the awareness. You have all been amazing. Thank you very much.
There's food in the front if anybody wants.
Yeah,